the most significant health, athletic, and anti-aging breakthroughs of our lifetime. Is a category creator. Nothing exists in this entire category of health apart from Asea. And it is extraordinary in that it is almost like a product from the future, 10 to 15 years ahead of its time. The whole world is starting to catch up, and Asea's been now running for over 10 years. And the breakthrough science had determined was absolutely impossible. I will explain why in just a moment. Let me first let you in on what Asea is not, what Asea Redox is not. It is not a vitamin. It's not a mineral. It's not an antioxidant, an exotic juice, essential oil, CBD oil. And I'm not knocking any of those things. They're all wonderful. But and this is the reason why it was so hard for me, because it didn't fit into any paradigm that I understood when I first came across it. And I just, it didn't make sense. So this is something that the world has never seen before. It goes beyond nutrition and ingredients. And it impacts your health at a depth that no other supplement has ever come close to achieving. So for many, Asea represents the missing link to their health. So what is Asea? It's not all those things. What it is the world's first and only redox signaling supplement. Redox biochemistry and redox signaling are very rapidly growing areas of science. In fact, I would say it's probably the fastest growing area of the biological sciences right now. There are over 1,200 textbooks written about this, over 18,000 peer-reviewed studies that have been published about it. That's a lot for something that most people have never heard of. So there are even conferences, whole conferences held about this area of science, which is, as I said, growing every day. Big grants from universities to study it. It's huge. Here's an interesting example of where things are going. An organisation called the Society for Free Radical Biology and Medicine. We all know what free radicals are, don't we? That's related to antioxidants. Well, they've just recently changed their name to the Society for Redox Biology and Medicine. So I'm trying to paint a picture here that even though you may not have heard of this until tonight, are moving very much in this direction. So redox signaling, and this is the key first principle that I'd like to share, redox signaling is foundational to cellular health, rejuvenation and renewal, impacting every major body system and function. There isn't any part of our body or our health that it doesn't influence. So what is cell signaling? Your body is the most complex communication network on Earth. It is billions and billions of signals going everywhere, electrical signals through the nerves, and chemically employing redox signaling molecules. Any breakdown is important cell signaling, and you cannot achieve your full potential if there isn't enough communication between the cells and between the cells in the immune system, the cells in the brain. Well, you've got a problem. In fact, I would say this, if your cells can't signal, if that communication cannot happen, then little else matters. I'll give you this little analogy. It's the best one I've seen to explain this principle. Imagine that you come home one day and you drive over that last hill and you see your house is on fire. What's the first thing you do? Well, of course, you get on the phone and you call the fire brigade. That makes sense, right? And what's the first thing that they're going to ask you? They're going to say, could you please give us your address? Even before they ask your name, they're going to want to know the location of the fire. But what happens if maybe you've got a bit of a problem with the signal on your cell phone, as they call it in the United States? If that message can't get through, if they're sitting there saying, you're breaking up, please, what is your address? If they don't get that information, it doesn't matter that they've got ladders and water and highly trained firefighters, it really doesn't matter at all because they can't help you. The body is very similar. We absolutely need to have that signaling at preferably 100%. Now, Asea Redox is the only product available in the world today that can provide the molecules that are critical to allow this communication around the body to take place. These molecules, which are made by the body, influence every type of cellular process you can imagine. And it doesn't really matter what type of cells we're talking about. If you've got a healthy heart, of course, it goes without saying that you have healthy heart cells, healthy blood, healthy red blood cells, etc., etc. And we could say this pyramid illustrates really what is going on in the body. You are made up of systems: digestive, muscular, reproductive. All of those systems are made up of organs. The organs are made up of tissues, and tissues are made up of nearly 75 trillion cells. If we were counting $10, $100 bills, 71 trillion cells would be 2 football fields stacked high. So it's a lot. But underlying and supporting that cellular structure is redox signaling. These molecules are so important that I heard one very well-spoken surgeon say that if I could turn off your body's ability to make these molecules, your entire biology would unravel in 15 minutes and you just disappear in a puddle on the floor. That's how important it is. Interesting that just a few decades ago, the world did not even know that these molecules existed. How do they actually work in the body? Well, in the body, and I don't want to make this too sciencey, but it's a fairly simple concept. We know that the body makes energy. It makes energy from little organelles inside the cell called mitochondria, and they are pumping out these little molecules called ATP all day. That's what allows you to blink, run, read, eat. We need that ATP. Now, at the same time, it turns out the body is producing these tiny little molecules called redox signaling molecules. In the beginning, they were actually seen as just a waste product, a bit like the exhaust from a car. It took a few years, but scientists started to realize, hang on, these are not just rubbish or waste. There's actually something really important happening. And so the research began. If I could just get you to mute yourself, if anyone is still... Thank you very much. It's foundational to healthy cell signaling throughout the body. And what's critical, and this is probably in all of my experience doing lay research for nearly 30 years, this is the first time that I've actually come across a supplement that is native to your body. What does that mean? It means that when you drink Asea, when you take the molecules into your body, the body doesn't have to process them. It recognizes these molecules, if you like, as itself. And so there's no processing, no digestion, no energy required to do the work. So the unfortunate part is that with age, diet, stress, environmental toxins, all of the downsides that we have in our world, our body starts to make less of these molecules around the age of 15. And then it reduces about 1% every year. Now remember, this signaling process is critical to every bodily function. So what happens? We end up with redox signaling deficiencies and imbalances. That results in diminished cellular efficiency and function. The whole cellular healing process becomes slow and sluggish, and you begin to see and feel the effects of aging. Now, we have all seen children with boundless energy run around all day. and then collapse at night, wake up the next morning, and what are they like? They're like the Energizer Bunny, like someone just plugged them in and they're back doing exactly what they were doing the day before. I know that before Asea, if I even went out and did a few hours gardening using muscles I hadn't used for a while, I'd wake up the next morning feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. There are many reasons for this, but one of the keys is as we get older, because of this deficiency, our body is not repairing as quickly as it did when we were children. In fact, one of my favourite lines that I've ever heard in Asea is from my friend Bart Cotter, who got up at a presentation, and his first line was, "Ladies and gentlemen, how would you like to heal like you did when you were 8 years old?" And I went, oh, wow, I've got to write that one down. Because that's really what we're talking about. We're talking about going backwards in time, being able to heal like we did when we were younger. So to be able to replenish ourselves, given that we have these deficiencies as we get older, this would be pretty groundbreaking. So why haven't we seen this a lot more in life? Well, there's a problem. And that is that when your cells make redox signaling molecules, their lifespan is less than a second. So they're made from the ingredients that are found in the cell, which, as we will see, are salt and water. And they're made into the molecules, they're spat out into the intracellular fluid, they do their job, and they turn back into salt water. All of that happens in less than a second. If I could give you a picture of what that would look like, if I could do a film of the redox process inside your body, it would look like a million sparks going off every second. Amazing process, actually. And so being able to reproduce those molecules in a way that they work, well, scientists just said, well, you can't hold a spark. It would be like me saying, I've got two flints, I'm going to hit them together and make sparks, and what I'd like you to do is collect them for me, because tomorrow afternoon I've got a barbecue. I need to light the barbecue. You'd be calling the men in the white coats, right? So science has seen this as an absolute impossibility. In fact, there are many scientists today unaware of Asea who still think it's impossible. But what we're about to see is that this breakthrough has actually occurred. So for 2 decades, many scientists tried to not only create the molecules, but to stabilize them. That's the key. They have to be able to be dormant or asleep so that you can actually put it in a bottle and send it somewhere. Otherwise, it's of no use to anyone, right? There were millions of dollars put into this. Multiple patents occurred, and scientists eventually achieved the impossible. They created and stabilized redox signaling molecules outside the body in perfect balance, and that's important. It's not just that there are other molecules, but that they are in balanced proportions, just like they are found in healthy cells. And the result is that we have the world's first and only redox signaling supplement. How is it made by Asea? Well, just as in the body, they take pristine salt water, they put it through a process, I think it's called electrolysis, where the molecules that make up salt and water, which is sodium, chlorine, hydrogen, and oxygen, are broken down into their individual atoms. And then, over a 3-day process, those atoms are then recombined into quite a large number of these molecules, as I said, in perfect balance. Most of them you wouldn't have heard of, ions of hydrogen and things like that, but you would have heard of one redox signaling molecule, which is hydrogen peroxide. That has resulted in Asea by... I've got a little bit of feedback going on. Okay, that's better. Yes, that's resulted in the technology appearing in 2 different forms. We have a liquid and a gel. The liquid is an overall, I guess you could use the word tonic, and we call that cellular health from the inside out, supplying these life-giving molecules wherever the body needs them in order to, as we said, heal at a much faster rate than we might as we're getting older. Then we have our Renew 28 gel, which we refer to as cellular health from the outside in. So Asea is the only company in the world where you can get this redox technology. No one else has it, absolutely nobody. And look, of course, the question arises, well, how do we know that there really are these molecules in the bottle? And where the company, Asea, always striving for transparency and to support those of us that are out in the world sharing the message of Asea, they went to a company called BioAgilytix. BioAgilytix is, I think, the most prestigious biotesting lab in the United States. They do all the testing for 18 of the top 25 pharmaceutical companies. Their reputation is pristine, and I think over half of the staff are PhDs. So they're very credible, and so Asea went to them and said, would you please tell us what is in this bottle? Because we've had our fair share of flack over the years of people saying, they look on the bottle, they see the ingredients of salt and water. Wow, this is obviously a bottle of salt water. So they went to BioAgilytix, tell us what's in the bottle. They came back and said, this bottle contains stabilized redox signaling molecules. So the product, luckily, wonderfully, is not on trial anymore. We actually have bona fides to prove that this elusive breakthrough has actually occurred, and we have it. Also, it's interesting that it is 100% safe. Before the company that became Asea had this technology, the company that did a lot of research beforehand, they actually did millions of dollars of safety studies and found that it is absolutely non-toxic. Now, I mentioned to you that I spent years researching supplements and healing modalities. I don't think I've ever come across a supplement that is completely safe and non-toxic. Almost everything has a toxicity level if you have enough of it. But indications are that we have no toxicity possible with Asea. And in fact, in millions of serves, there has never been a negative side effect. Unique. Get, as I said, too much into the science, but I would like to mention that based on the results that people using Asea have seen over the last 10 years, it was suspected that there was possibly more going on than we even realised, that there was probably a genetic effect. Now, some of you will have heard the term epigenetics. That means changing the function of the genes, being able to enhance how the genes operate. So Asea went to a company called Tourette Laboratories in Utah. You may not have heard the name of the company, but you would have heard of Ancestry.com. They do a lot of the testing for Ancestry.com, very reputable company. So this company partnered with Asea and undertook a double-blind placebo-controlled trial to see what was going on at the genetic level. And it was only good news because they found in an 8-week study that Asea Redox was shown to activate 5 important gene signaling pathways by up to 31%. What does that mean? Is 31 a lot? Is it a little? Well, I've since heard that if a drug company can get 2% increase in gene signaling, they're over the moon. They're very happy. We're going to have a very profitable product here. So 31% is a game changer. And so they were able to determine by taking 5 different genes and looking at how they were affected by people drinking Asea on a regular basis, that in fact there was a major impact on 5 different areas of health: immunity, inflammatory response, cardiovascular health, healthy digestion, and hormone modulation. Now, I would guess you probably know someone who's not well, and there's probably a 99% chance that the area in which they're challenged is appearing on that wheel. It's probably one of those 5 or a combination of. So being able to impact those is pretty special, pretty amazing. So again, not too sciencey, but this is our last step in. One of those gene signaling pathways is called EGR1. What they found when they had people drinking Asea on a regular basis for 60 days, they found that not only was EGR1 affected, but another 15 different gene signaling pathways were impacted. Now you can see there's some interesting and important pathways there. One is insulin signaling. Imagine if your body was not getting the messages it needed to be able to regulate your insulin. Remember, it's all about communication. Human thyroid stimulating hormone. How many people have, as they get older, issues with their thyroid? This one's very interesting. I have some amazing stories about what has been possible for couples that have not been able to conceive, maybe for many years, even trying different IVF, different natural methods, IVF, you name it, and then they start on Asea and miracles happen. But it's really just the body being able to function optimally at a cellular level. So just really extraordinary things are possible when we refresh this signaling and communication system in the body. So experts agree oxidative stress is the #1 health risk factor, and glutathione is your body's master antioxidant. I actually did a lot of lay study about glutathione back in the early noughties. I think it was 2006 I started. And glutathione is actually not only your body's master antioxidant, but also your body's master detox agent. How many issues are we having today with toxicity from our air, our food, our water, you name it? So previous redox studies by Asea and educational institutions that they worked with and research laboratories found that drinking Asea on a regular basis increased the body's ability to use glutathione by up to 8 times, 800%. Lowering oxidized LDL was happening as well, lowering oxidized DNA. So although there are no antioxidants in Asea redox, its impact on antioxidant health is nothing short of astonishing. One analogy that I've heard and I really like is, imagine that your antioxidants are like light bulbs. You could have your house full of light bulbs, but if you don't have electricity, then nothing happens. So think of redox signaling as providing the electricity so that you can fully light the whole house really well. So what are the experts saying? Well, Anne-Louise Gittleman, referred to as the First Lady of Nutrition in the States, she's written over 30 books on nutrition. She's actually re-editing all of her books to include redox signaling in them now because she's been so blown away seeing what Asea does. And she said, Asea, in my humble estimation, is the greatest advance in lifestyle medicine, which harnesses the power of your own body to keep you well. Dr. Gary Samuelson, one of the very few atomic medical physicists in the United States, said this technology has the potential to spearhead the greatest advances in health that we have ever seen. Now, that's a big claim, right? I get it. And to say I was skeptical in the beginning, well, as I said, I didn't get it the first time. It all just seemed too much, you know. But seeing this backed up by results over the last 10 years, and for me, over the last 6. Now, hundreds of medical professionals have embraced Asea's mission because they've seen the results as well. We've had thousands of lives changed. And this is why, based on research, experience, observation, we can say with confidence that this is one of the most significant health science breakthroughs of our lifetime. Athletes also are able to get a very significant advantage. Because remember, we're dealing with cells, we're dealing with communication and efficiency of metabolism. So, of course, athletes want this in spades. I heard a coach in the States who's associated with Asea said to me, he said, right now Asea gives athletes an advantage they cannot get in any other way. And he said, and this is the part I found interesting, in a few years from now, all elite athletes will be using Asea, because if they don't, they'll be at a disadvantage. It improves endurance, recovery, mental and physical stamina. We have Olympic athletes using this, a number of them, cyclists, triathletes, Ironmen, weightlifters. The secret's getting out. An interesting study that was done a few years ago was they fed one lot of mice Asea and one lot of mice nothing, or a control, maybe water. And the discovery was that these mice that were drinking Asea over a 7-day period were able, well, they ran 29% further to exhaustion. So it took another 29% longer for them to actually get tired enough to stop running on their treadmills. So mice don't run 29% further for nothing. So very interesting. So the key to this and why it's so powerful for athletes and for all of us, because in a way we're all athletes, we're using our bodies, is that drinking Asea allows the body to use fat for fuel, which is more efficient than burning sugars for fuel. Now, I want to show you all a little bit about Renew 28. That's our cellular regeneration from the outside in. It actually took 5 more years after the Asea Redox liquid was created to come up with the gel. It wasn't easy because, as you can imagine, these molecules are very reactive, and we want to make sure they stay sleeping until you put them in or on the body. So it took 5 years to find the combination of ingredients that would allow it to be a gel form, but without losing any of its efficacy. Here's some of our common results. People age slower. Is Renew 28. Skin challenges are affected quite powerfully. If you look at that photo, the 2 photos on the right up top, look at the lady's neckline. You can actually see that. It's pretty powerful. Redness and irritation you can see there. Knees. I've seen this type of result many times myself. 75 minutes after a major hit on the knee, you can see the difference. Anything that is uncomfortable, any discomfort that you have in your body, applying the gel 3 times over a 5-minute period enables us to achieve, again, what we were talking about earlier, what children are able to achieve. Children have this incredible ability to bounce back because their bodies are saturated with these molecules, unlike us as we get older. And so when we apply the gel 3 times over a 5-minute period, we're able to start getting close to that saturation again, and we see great things. General health. This gentleman was out of work for a year. He was suffering some very severe debilitation, and you can see he was offered the gel. He started using it, and you can see that even by day 22, things are starting to look quite different. As I said, he was out of work for a year. Within a month of these photos being taken, he was back at work. So he was able to get not only some of his youthfulness back, but also his financial dignity. This is maybe one of my favourite set of photos. And sometimes we wonder whether it should be in the opposite order. This lady, Rosie, she started drinking the Asea, just 2 ounces in the morning, 2 at night, and using 2 tubes of the gel on her skin. And you can see her progression. It seems age-defying. And that's because, as we said, these redox-stimulating molecules are an incredible key to health, longevity, and anti-aging. advance very quickly. I want to just touch on the fact that once we had the gel, it seemed logical to create a cutting-edge skincare system around it, which Asea did. It's called Renew Advanced, containing a cleanser, a moisturizer, and in the middle, if you can see that dark blue tube, that is called redox serum. It's similar to the gel, but much more concentrated and used for small areas such as crow's feet, bags under the eyes, that sort of thing. We like to say healthy skin is beautiful skin. And just touching on the fact that Asea over the last 2-3 years started working on a nutritional range, and they have come up with an amazing selection of nutrition. This is another area of health which is neglected by many, and many people realise they need to look after their nutrition, and all of our soils are depleted. Especially, I'm familiar with Australia. Here, all of our soils are deficient in zinc. Zinc is required for 1,200 chemical reactions in men and 1,400 in women. So if you're not using a zinc supplement, you could be in trouble. It's pretty likely. So what Asea developed was 4 different products. One is Source, that's whole food nutrition. Biome, gut health supplement. We know how important gut health is not only to our digestion, but also to our immunity. A large proportion of our immune system is actually centered around and associated with the gut. Life Max, anti-aging and vitality formula, and Omega, which is for heart and brain health. Very, very good product. It doesn't create the fishy burp associated with so many fish oils. So here's the whole picture in a nutshell. To be healthy at a cellular level, we have to do 2 things. We need to actually feed the body the raw ingredients so that it has those to build. And we also have to have this communication happening, because we live and die at the cellular level, so we have to look after ourselves. So there we have the Asea Via range, which is raw materials, and we have the Asea Redox, which is for cell signaling. Now, imagine that you're building a house. You just had the materials, but you didn't have the workers, then you just have a big pile of bricks and corrugated iron or tiles or cement, glass, aluminium. You actually need someone to come and do the work. I really love this photo. This is actually from the Amish community in the States. And they have this unique tradition, which is wonderful. When a couple gets married, the entire community comes and builds their house. Kent. Which is pretty amazing. That's what's possible if you have enough workers to do the work. If you've only got one contractor and he's on his own, then it's going to take a long time. I think this analogy is very apt for the body. If we can provide more capacity to do the work, to heal, it can be a very exciting process of starting to look and feel like you did years earlier. And Asea is the only company in the world to offer your cells both the materials and the labour to get the work done. So, as we finish up, I just want to say a few things about the other side of Asea. And this is important because there are very powerful reasons why I'm sitting here able to tell you about this. As I mentioned at the beginning of our presentation, breakthroughs create opportunities. And what have we got here? If you can just put your business hat on for a second. We have a high-impact technology that gets results very, very consistently. No one else has it. It's validated by third-party independent science, a number of different research laboratories, etc., etc. Everybody needs it, especially everybody over 15. And virtually no one knows about it. This is, in my business life, a completely unique experience. Now, Asea, we actually have an entire video that tells this story, but in a nutshell, Asea started because of these 2 men, Vertus Norton and his son Tyler. And originally Asea, it wasn't called Asea at the time, it was a project to take a semi-developed technology that was not stabilised, actually turn it into something that was sellable to a pharmaceutical company. They actually did that. They got the result. They were able to stabilise the molecules, and some very big interests. In fact, one particular company worth $14 billion in New Jersey was very open to taking this on. Around this same time, as they had developed the technology, they thought, well, you know, we better see if anyone will actually drink it. So they took 40 people that they knew, family and friends, and they said, go to town, try this out for 8 weeks and we'll get back to you. But when they got back to them 8 weeks later, those 40 people had turned into 135 people in 20 countries. There was no financial incentive. They just wanted to share this because they could feel the benefits. Now, unfortunately, when they brought it to the pharmaceutical company, they said, look, you know, we love this technology. We want to write you a check that's so big, you won't want to talk to anyone else. Generational wealth. But there's one catch. Those 135 people, you have to cut them off. Now, Virtus was very perplexed at this. He said, why? And they said, well, it'll be our intellectual property. We don't want it all over the countryside. And they said, well, you know, we've got some people that have been very, very unwell, and now they're doing great. Worried if they stop using this, that they'll decline again. To which the pharmaceutical executive said, you know what? People have to look after their own issues. It's not our responsibility. If you want this deal, that's it. Everyone has to be cut off. I'm very grateful, and so many of my friends are so grateful, that their answer was no. They decided that they would not sell to the pharmaceutical company because they realised that this had become something more than a business project. They wanted to put people, principles and purpose ahead of the money, ahead of short-term economic gain. And because of that reason, we're here today. Now, this relates very strongly to why we do business the way we do. How do we get this message across to people? Well, it turns out that those 40 people turned into 135 people. Word of mouth is the most efficient and powerful way to get any product to market. It's based on trust, it's based on personal connection, and we all recommend things that we like, don't we? If we see a movie, a restaurant that we enjoy, we want to tell others about it. So Asea decided that, you know what, we need to employ this principle, to employ the principle of word of mouth. So they decided to look around, and lo and behold, there is one business model that employs word of mouth almost exclusively, and that's network marketing. A business model with a checkered history but extraordinary potential to help people to change their lives. And as you can see by this graph, almost no other industry on the planet is bigger now. $190 billion per year turnover, $1 million paid out in commissions every day. So it's pretty big. So what does Asea become? What is the characteristics of this company 10 years down the track? Well, it's a big success story. We have a legacy-focused, debt-free company. They are so sound, it's amazing. They own an FDA-registered and NSF-certified manufacturing facility. That means they are very, very efficient, very, very, very clean. 18 international distribution centres around the world, shipping to over 30 countries. Right now, we have had over $700 million in sales, which is extraordinary, really, if you think about it. But the company's also paid up $320 million in commissions. And we have over 30 people who've earned over $1 million working as independent associates for the company. Year-on-year growth, tens of thousands of lives changed. My question to you tonight is, what does winning look like for you? How much income would it take? How much extra income would it take in order for you to feel like you were winning, that you were able to achieve your dreams in life. I know that most people, based on my experience talking to thousands of people over 30 years, is that by people's mid-30s, oftentimes they've actually shut down their dream machine. See their linear income going off into the distance, and they can see that they're not going to be able to have their house by the sea or their dream home or whatever it is that they want. So this is last year's income disclosure statement from Asea. All of these ranks that we call them in Asea have various different incomes as you develop through the business, as you share this amazing technology with people. Really, the sky's the limit. These are actual real figures that people earned last year. So you need to just look down and see where you want to get to so that you can have whatever it is that you want to have. Basically, what we do is we help people re-enliven their dreams and then achieve them. What do you want? Would you like to have just supplemental income? You know, we know that $1 a month extra can mean the difference between someone keeping or losing their home. So even a small amount of supplemental income can be very powerful. Do you want to fire your boss? Would you rather work from home? Would you rather have that freedom than not have to drive to work every day? Do you want plan B income? Do you want to have a nest egg over here to protect you in case of, well, we know what unpredictability looks like. We're going through it right now, aren't we, with the COVID-19. There is also something else that is available. Not everyone wants this, but we call it lifestyle income or big time income over time. Whatever is your dream, Asea can be a vehicle. And I think that's probably the most apt analogy. Right now you're where you are, go somewhere else, it might be a bigger something else. It might be ludicrous to other people around you. But this can be a vehicle to wherever you want to go. Can you do it? Well, unlike normal business, which is pretty dog eat dog, very competitive, having an Asea business means that you are able to access all sorts of resources. As we said, Asea is a very stable company. The products are extraordinary, proven, tested. Now have had hundreds of thousands of people use Asea. And we like to say this, and it's become almost a cliche, but it's real. You're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. You have a whole stack of other people with a vested interest in your success, because the big income in Asea is created when we help other people to become successful. Some of our resources, we have presentation tools, training tools. This type of presentation, you can invite your friends and family to be able to look at Asea without you having to know everything. In fact, you don't need to know much to start developing a significant income. We have regional events. Well, soon we'll have them again. We have an annual convention. Each country has its own functions, and then we have the international convention in the US each year. You need to make sure you're clear about where Asea is at. Timing can be everything. As I said, Asea has been now going for 10 years. Starting in 2009, we've had substantial, what would you call it, solid growth over the last decade. Going up until 2017, I think, don't quote me on this, but I think between 10 to 20% growth per year. Well, if you look at 2017, the world just started to wake up. And over a 2-year period, the company doubles in size. Pretty extraordinary, actually, because, and some people have said to me, well, why did it take so long for Asea to get into momentum? I've seen companies do it in 6 months. Well, most companies are not dealing with a brand new technology in a wholly new category of science. So it took some time to really make sure that things were on track, that we knew how to tell this story in a really clear way. But Believe me, things are about to explode. And as you can see by the map, most of the world doesn't know about Asea. In fact, I would hazard to guess that it's probably only about 1% of people in the Western world even know that redox molecules exist, let alone that Asea as a supplement that can give your body a native replacement to those molecules. So we're about to really move. So you couldn't pick a better time to look at Asea as your plan B. There you can see the figures. 2 years, 85 million to 171. The plan is that to pay $1 billion in commissions by 2025 and hit $500 million in revenue in that year. So we're creating strong residual incomes. Whether you want part-time, full-time or big time, that's up to you. We're here to serve you. We're here to help you get whatever it is you want in your life. Turn back on the dream machine. It is possible to have a much more fulfilled life than you maybe ever thought was possible. And I love what Virtus says. He says, Virtus and Tyler say, we want to help you make memories. Asea also has, I'll be very brief on this, a foundation which fosters and pursues humanitarian efforts around the world, including just recently the building of a whole bunch of wells in villages in Cambodia. They also are assisting the efforts of the Operation Underground Railroad, which is an organisation set out to destroy child trafficking, which is very important. I could talk about that for a while. I've been looking into that issue for years. So we have $1 billion redox technology. Hardly anyone knows about it. You have the opportunity by sharing it with others to create freedom for yourself. No one else has this. Everybody needs it. Nobody knows about it. I've got to tell you, for me as a business person for many years, when I realised what this was, it just blew me away. That this was actually, I would have the chance to take a brand new life-giving technology to market. So if you want to get involved, how does that work? First you enroll as an associate. That's only $60 New Zealand. That gives you your own website, a virtual office, the ability to participate in an income creation program, I'd say second to none in the world. Then you buy yourself an enrollment order. We have several of those available. It is the only time that you can get effectively discounts on the product. And they're very, very good value. And we have an user-friendly auto ship program. Not locked in, you can cancel at any time, but when you are on auto ship, it enables you to actually accumulate reward points, which you can then redeem for free product. Last but not least, I really love this quote by Virtus Norton, an amazing man, one of the most amazing businessmen I've ever met in my life. This is a quote he gave, I think, at the very first convention of Asea back in 2010. We are all at the start of something big with great purpose, and right now is the moment that we begin influencing the future. Virtus Norton. I actually believe that Asea will become one of the largest direct selling organisations on earth, and we are going to change millions and millions of lives. You have the opportunity to participate, and so we want to not be pushy, but I want to really be clear. We invite you to come join us, help us take this product to market, help us change the world. You know, for me, I have that so many people feel that they're little cogs in a huge machine, that they have no influence. But you can actually change the world in your own way. You can change thousands of lives by being a part of Asea, and we welcome you. If you still need to do some more due diligence, do it. But as I like to say, do it quickly, because this opportunity will never be better than it is today. I want to thank you all for your time, but I hope you enjoyed it. Please go back and talk to the person that invited you onto this call. Thank you all very much. I hope you have a wonderful evening,